Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we try to uncover profound insights, maybe some surprising facts, and sometimes, completely reframe how you see the world. Today, we're embarking on a truly mind-bending exploration. We've been digging into these excerpts from a YouTube video transcript, actually, about Charles Webster Leadbeater's 1895 book, The Astral Plane. And I've got to admit, I went in expecting something, academic, maybe a little dry, a bit dusty. But what we found instead was, well, frankly, it was astonishing, really challenged how I thought about perception, about reality itself. Leadbeater's core idea, and it's provocative, is that what we think of as reality, it's just one layer, a limited slice, and that there's this incredibly complex, multidimensional ecosystem, thoughts, energy, even entities, all coexisting right here with us, just unseen. He doesn't just argue together. He meticulously diagrams it. It's quite something.
Right. And our mission today in this deep dive is really to unpack these radical claims Leadbeater makes, to explore what he actually means by this astral plane, and maybe understand why he's so insistent that it's as real, as tangible as, well, his example was Charing Cross Station. Mm-hmm. We want to pull out the surprising facts from his, very detailed observations and look at what this could mean. The implications for our daily lives, definitely for our dreams, and maybe even for what happens when we die.
Okay, so let's open that door. What if your dreams aren't just dreams? What if they're something much more significant? So Leadbeater kicks things off with this really audacious claim, the astral world. It isn't some abstract metaphor, a flight of fancy. He flat out asserts it's as real as Charing Cross Station, just vibrating differently. On a frequency, our physical senses, well, they just don't normally pick it up. It makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Why does the idea of an unseen dimension, maybe a consciousness war zone, feel less believable than, traffic jams and tax forms?
Well, what's really interesting about his approach, his methodology, is that he claims he isn't just speculating. He's not making it up. He presents himself as reporting from the terrain behind your sensory firewall. That's the phrase. For him, it was systematic, pattern recognition, like a scientist observing something totally new. And he insists on rigorous observation, not faith. He's very clear on that. Not channeling spirits, not poetic license. He actually claimed every observation in his book was cross-verified by at least 2 independent clairvoyants, which is, it's almost like peer review, but for mystics, right?
Peer review for mystics. I like that.
He saw it as a science of altered perception, less like a, occult meeting and more like a detailed lab report from another dimension.
That's a fascinating way to frame it. Turning mysticism into something almost empirical. And it comes with this direct challenge, doesn't it, to you, the listener. He basically dares you to replicate it, to learn to see for yourself, to train your focus, test the claims. It really makes you wonder, what if they're right? Okay, so if we accept this layered reality premise, even just for argument's sake, it forces us to look at dreams differently, our most common nightly experience. And Leadbeater's perspective here is genuinely revolutionary. He's saying they aren't just symbols, not Freudian stuff about your ex.
Exactly.
He calls them sloppy recon missions into an actual dimension.
Yeah, he elaborates on that. Every night, he says, as you fall asleep, your soul, or he calls it the subtle body, it kind of breaks free, like a convict is the image used in the source. And it floats, maybe half lucidly, into this invisible scaffolding behind reality. The tragedy, he says, is our structural ignorance. Our waking mind, our consciousness, is trained to think sleep is just blank, unconscious. And dreams are just made-up stories. So when that subtle body comes back from its nightly trip, the impressions, the data it gathered, it gets misremembered, or just lost in the static as you wake up. Leadbeater treats these experiences, these dream fragments, as operational data, as topographical truth, not just fantasy. It's like, nighttime. Like you're sleeping every night inside the most incredible library ever built, stuffed with information.
And you don't even look at the spines of the books. You just stumble out in the morning. What a lost opportunity. He's right. For knowledge, for self-understanding. But maybe the biggest implication, the real red meat of his claims, concerns death. Leadbeater offers this completely different view of what happens when we die. It's not the end. It's not purgatory in the old sense or some, cosmic waiting room. From his perspective, it's a literal conscious shift, a transition onto the astral plane.
Yeah, if we sort of broaden out that perspective he's offering, he explains the process quite well clinically. When your physical heart stops, your astral body performs what he terms hard exit, and you consciously wake up. But you wake up in the, quote, realer than real back rooms of existence.
And the key thing here is the duration. He claims you could be stuck there. Well, not stuck exactly, but present there for decades, maybe centuries. It depends on your vibrational density, as he puts it.
Vibrational density. It's not about moral judgment like good or bad. It's more like magnetism, physics. You just naturally gravitate to the layer, the part of the astral plane that resonates with your accumulated energy state from life. So the afterlife in this model isn't a courtroom with a judge. It's physics. Energetic consequences.
That's a really profound shift, isn't it? It means your internal state, your habits, your, emotional patterns, they have tangible consequences beyond physical life. So if you spent your life being, say, really greedy or self-absorbed or rigidly dogmatic,
then your experience there, your astral sort of purgatory, might feel like a, quote, carnival of your unfulfilled habits. You're just stuck in those loops.
but if you cultivated kindness, curiosity.
You'd pass through those denser layers much more easily, like a breeze, the source says.
So it's not about divine reward or punishment?
Not directly. It's about mechanism, intrinsic consequences built into the structure of things.
What's interesting, too, is Leadbeater's intention behind writing the book, The Astral Plane. It seems surprisingly democratic. He apparently pictured it as a kind of spiritual instruction booklet for everyone.
Yeah.
A user guide for the bus rider, the factory worker, the accountant.
Right, which prompts the question, why? Why the urgency to get this map out there to ordinary people? He argues pretty starkly that death is not optional. It's coming for everyone. And if people don't understand this map, this terrain, they'll, quote, die blind. They'll be floundering in dimensions they never even believed existed. And potentially susceptible to every illusion, every seduction, every fear that swims in that astral soup, as the source put it. So for Leadbeater, this knowledge isn't just curious, it's vital preparation. It's like arming yourself for a reality you're already in, whether you know it or not, like a war you didn't know you were drafted in.
Wow. And it's not just some vague, misty void either, is it? He describes the astral plane as this complex, what was the phrase? Cosmological lasagna.
Yeah, that captures it. Layers, distinct terrain, rules, territory. He details 7 primary layers, with loads of subdivisions based on density. A bit like the Earth's structure, crust, mantle, core.
So you're not just floating randomly in some dream vapor.
No, you're actively moving. Your subtle body, your consciousness, is naturally drawn to the stratum, the layer, that matches your own vibrational frequency. You walk across energetic fields.
Okay, so if you're in this place, how do you perceive things? How does vision work on the astral plane? Leadbeater says something fascinating.
Yeah.
You don't just look at things, you look through them. It's like an all-seeing lens. You perceive the essence, not just the surface. He describes looking at a rock and seeing every single molecule inside it, from every angle at the same time.
It's hard to get your head around. And he explains why it might seem illusory to us. He suggests our normal waking cognitive decoder is just, it's tuned to the wrong frequency, like an old radio dial. And here's a crucial point. The astral plane just reflects some objective out there reality. It powerfully reflects in your mind, your fears, your guilt, your obsessions, your hidden emotional state. They get projected outward. So because most of us carry, internal baggage, unresolved stuff, the astral can become this confusing house of mirrors, warped by our own internal landscape, our own, quote, internal filth.
And entities there can feed on that.
That's the claim. They can feed on those projections, even subtly shape themselves into what you most expect or dread seeing, which sounds terrifying.
So the solution is?
Psychic hygiene, he calls it. Diligent work on cultivating clear thoughts, pure emotion, cleaning up your inner world so it doesn't distort your outer subtle.
It's like what's invisible to us isn't really hidden. It's just too small or too fast or maybe too multidimensional for our, quote, meat eyes to catch.
Exactly. And then there's the color bomb.
Right. He talks about seeing hues our earthly palate just doesn't have. Colors beyond violet, shades beyond red.
Real frequencies of light or energy that our physical retina simply isn't built to receive.
Okay, so underlying all of this, there's this structure. Leadbeater talks about an etheric mesh. What is that exactly?
Think of it like a subtle energy grid, a template. The source called it a ghost honeycomb. It acts as the vital bridge, the interface, linking our dense physical world to the finer astral realm.
And connected to that is the etheric double.
Yes, that's not just a ghost image of your body. It's the energetic blueprint, the non-physical scaffolding that actually dictates your physical form's health and structure.
He has this wild idea that you don't really own your body.
Right, you rent it.
Yeah.
And the terms of the lease, the specific model you get, are based on your credit history across lifetimes, your accumulated karma and developmental needs.
And the aura. We hear about auras, but his description sounds incredibly complex.
Oh, it's far from just a simple gauzy light. In his system, the aura is this luminous, multi-layered energy field, an ovoid, like a complex cathedral of light surrounding you. And it supposedly contains your entire evolutionary status. Within it are distinct subtle bodies.
Like the astral body.
Exactly. The astral body, which registers every desire, every flicker of emotion. Then the mental body, which holds your longer-term intentions, your thought patterns. And even higher, the causal body, described as shining like a star, marking the progress of your true self across many, many incarnations.
Wow.
He also notes something interesting, that people from different backgrounds, races, cultures, spiritual paths tend to have distinct etheric patterns. Because, he asserts, no soul incarnates randomly. randomly. It's not accidental.
So reincarnation isn't just about coming back.
It's like functional architecture. Each life is meticulously constructed like a prototype vehicle, precisely tuned to challenge you exactly where you're weakest to promote growth.
So what does this all boil down to for us?
Yeah.
For you, the listener?
It means you're not just a physical person walking around. You are, in essence, a stacked frequency field, a collection of interacting luminous maps, all orbiting a central, unchanging core of being.
Okay, now Leadbeater stresses that this astral plane, it's not empty. Far from it. It's incredibly crowded. He basically provides a taxonomy of the invisible, breaking down the inhabitants into three main groups: human, non-human, and artificial.
Right, it's like taking a census of the unseen world. So under human, you've got a few categories. First, those who are not dead, meaning their physical bodies are alive, usually asleep. This includes trained occultists who can consciously, slide out of their bodies like surgeons.
Astral projection.
Precisely. But also ordinary people, sleepwalkers, whose subtle forms drift out unconsciously, maybe drawn by strong emotions or ingrained habits. Sometimes they even get stuck repeating old routines astrally. Then there are those who are physically dead but are sort of stuck, lingering post-death due to intense attachments to places, people, or sensations.
And he talks about echoes and shells.
Yeah, echoes, shells, and shades. These aren't the full conscious soul, he's careful to point out. They're more like energetic fragments, leftover imprints, like psychic voicemails or discarded husks after the soul has moved on. And then there's a darker side, too. He mentions psychic zombies, bodies driven by lingering base urges, but without real consciousness.
Yeah.
And psychic vampires.
Vampires. Seriously.
Well, entities supposedly created by violent deaths or intense, unresolved obsessions, who are said to instinctively try and draw vital energy from the living. It's grim stuff.
And suicides.
He gives a very poignant, detailed account. Often, he says, they linger in the astral, trapped and replaying the intense emotional storm of their final moments because that powerful vibration dominates their energy field immediately after death. It sounds incredibly tragic.
Okay, what about the non-human category?
Here we go. Well, some are described as predators. Not necessarily evil in a human sense, but entities that can latch onto your aura if you're overwhelmed by negative emotions like intense anger or terror. They sort of ride those emotional waves, he says, drawing energy from your trauma.
Like,
But there are also nature spirits, gnomes, sylphs, undines, the elementals of earth, air, water. He describes them not as fairy tale characters, but as actual etheric organisms, part of the subtle machinery managing natural process.
and animal ghosts.
He suggests that only the more complex, individualized animals, like maybe a beloved pet you had a deep bond with, develop a coherent enough astral form to persist for a while after death. But typically, without that spark of human-like self-reflection, they don't linger permanently.
Right. And the third category, artificial.
Yes, this is fascinating. First, elementals, but not the nature spirit. These are described as raw psychic substance, coalesced emotion and thought. They can form temporary, semi-autonomous shapes, spontaneously generated by really strong feelings, like a wave of intense rage or profound love could momentarily create one.
And thought forms.
These are born from the obsessive replay of human thoughts and intentions. If you dwell on an idea intensely, repeatedly, you literally build an energetic form in the act. And Leadbeater suggests that most hauntings, they aren't actual conscious ghosts of dead people.
They're just these thought forms.
Often, yes. Tenacious thought forms refusing to dissipate because the person who created them, or others, keep feeding them with attention and emotion, like an energetic recording stuck on loop.
Wow. So it all leads to this idea he calls the final terror and final liberation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is that every single being you might encounter on the astral plane, human, non-human, artificial, is, in some deep way, a mirror. A reflection of your own internal vibration, your own psychic state.
So to consciously walk the astral
Is quite literally to walk through your own psyche, made external, your inner world projected onto the screen of subtle reality.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. You might think our physical reality is kind of sealed off, right? Governed by solid laws of matter. But Leadbeater completely challenges that. He says everything solid is porous to the subtle. And what we call the paranormal, he just sees it as a pressure difference, like astral leakage, where subtle energies bleed through into our dimension.
Which raises the question, what's really going on in a haunting then, if it's not usually a traditional ghost?
Right.
Leadbeater suggests it's often psychic residue, an emotional density left behind by intense events experienced by living beings. And this energy can form repeating loops in the astral fabric of that specific location.
So places, remember,
That's the idea. Architecture, walls, object. They absorb the emotional content of the people who lived or experienced things there, like a container getting stained by what it holds.
He just distinguishes between psychic photographs.
Yes, like imprints, almost like astral holograms, just replaying a past event or emotion. These aren't conscious entities. And actual visitations, which he considered much rarer.
So that chill you sometimes feel in an old house.
It might not be temperature drop. It could be what he calls informational density. You're brushing up against a repeating emotional loop, an imprint of strong feeling from another time, resonating from that subtle dimension.
Okay, let's dive into the abilities associated with this. Clairvoyance. He doesn't just mean seeing ghosts, does he?
No, not at all. He defines it much more broadly as direct cognition of form and energy. It's about perceiving the underlying structures of meaning behind objects, people, situations. And it operates on different levels. Etheric vision sees the energy body, astral vision sees emotions and desires, mental vision perceives thoughts and intention.
And he connects this to time.
Right, this is mind-bent. He describes the astral plane as existing in some sense outside of linear time. That's why, he suggests, future events can sometimes be glimpsed, not through divine prophecy, but because the astral reflects probability, like looking at a cosmic weather map showing likely future development.
Like weather systems.
Exactly. He says astral forces behave like subtle weathers, and trained individuals, he claims, can learn to consciously direct these subtle energies to influence physical matter, which could lead to phenomena like telekinesis, moving objects with the mind, or even spontaneous healing by adjusting energy patterns.
And sound plays
a big one. He calls sound sonic architect. Correctly intoned sounds, like mantras, he says, can literally reshape astral matter, build forms, or dissolve unwanted energy.
Again, he frames this not as magic,
but as metaphysical physics, principles of a subtler reality.
And he goes even further, touching on things like disintegration, materialization,
levitation,
immunity to fire, transmutation.
Yeah.
All presented as practical applications of these underlying laws. Levitation, for instance, isn't a circus trick.
It's about a trained mind consciously overriding the physical body's density, its gravitational lock, allowing it to, float or rise on directed currents of will and subtle energy.
Okay, there's another key concept, repercussion.
Yeah.
This occult law he talks
about. Yes. The basic idea is anything you do on the astral plane, any action, any intention projected returns, often amplified.
Good or ill.
Both. He's very clear, again, this isn't morality imposed from outside, it's just feedback, an inherent property of the system.
Like karma, but faster.
Pretty much. He says, karma doesn't wait for your next life. Sometimes it shows up next. Every gesture you make in the subtle realm, every thought you forcefully project, sends ripples that inevitably circle back and impact your physical life, your circumstances, your inner. With uncanny act, the astral plane, in his view, records everything, reflects everything, and ultimately returns. It's a perfect feedback.
So bringing this all together, Leadbeater seems to be saying this knowledge isn't just interesting speculation, it's crucial. Like a survival manual for the metaphysically naked, as the source put it. Learning the layout of a prison you didn't even know you were in.
Which brings up a really critical question he addresses. What does it mean to die well? He insists it means to cross a way, to be conscious and aware during the transition. Death isn't a trapdoor into oblivion. It's a profound shift between density, and preparing for it is like meticulously planning for a long, important voyage to an unknown country. You'd want a map, wouldn't you?
You definitely would.
He also believes that real human evolution isn't primarily anatomical anymore, or even technological. It's perceptual. Clairvoyance, the ability to perceive these subtle realities, he argues, potentially your next organ, a latent sense that humanity is destined to develop.
But there are dangers.
Oh, yes. And interestingly, he warns that the greatest danger in the astral isn't necessarily encountering malevolent entities, though they exist. It's glamour, illusion. The tendency of the astral plane to perfectly reflect your own internal biases, fears, and wishful thinking back at you. You might see something that confirms your deepest desire or prejudice and mistake it for objective truth or divine revelation when it's just your own mind mirrored back.
So just seeing isn't enough.
Exactly. Discrimination, discerning judgment is absolutely crucial. More important, perhaps, than mere psychic vision itself.
And the ultimate challenge he leaves us with. It's about responsibility.
It is. He basically says, look, if you've even glimpsed the possibility that this astral reality is real, you can't unknow that. You can't unsee it. You are now, in his words, potentially awake in a crowd of sleepwalkers.
Which doesn't make you special or superior.
No, it makes you responsible. It makes you potentially useful. Your job, then, he implies, isn't to feel smug, but maybe to be a compass, to help others navigate if they start to wake up too.
So wrapping up this deep dive, What's the big takeaway? For Leadbeater, the astral plane is profoundly real. It's there. It's waiting. And now having explored this, well, you don't kind of pretend you didn't hear about it. Yeah. It suggests you're standing right now, maybe half awake, in what he might call the Charing Cross of the soul, a bustling, crowded, multi-layered junction point of consciousness, like a huge, busy train station. But the trains are dimensions, states of being. It's a key transition point on your journey. And those subtle trains, they don't wait forever.
Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder. If your own thoughts, your emotions, your intentions are constantly shaping a world you mostly can't, what kind of energetic ecosystem are you building in the dark?
We hope this deep dive into Charles Webster Leadbeater's The Astral Plane has maybe cracked open a few doors in your perception, made you think about sleep, death, and reality itself just a little differently. Until next time on The Deep Dive.